said, first, but maybe not the last, although we'd all, I think, look forward to the day we can have in-person gatherings again. 1 year in, it's hard to believe. We were talking about the fact that it seems like it just happened, and in other ways, it seems like a lifetime ago when we all got the shelter in place orders and made sure our laptops and our connectivities worked and off and running. So before we really get into the program, I would really just like to take a chance to say thank you to everybody who's here and all the organizations represented, because it really was a Herculean effort across the board to try to work with everybody. The craziness, the confusion, the businesses running scared because they were ordered to shut down and didn't know how they were going to make a living, and it just really everybody banding together to try to support the small business community. And we know we're not done, right? We're still not finished. We're going to talk more about recovery today. But one of the things I would like to do is try to also start shifting the conversation, not just from recovery, but also to these businesses and how they get back to earning revenue again, or maybe new lines of revenue. I know a lot of businesses did gravitate towards technology and took advantage and pivoted and did some wonderful things in order to survive, and some actually started thriving. Others have been really reluctant to change how they do business and have struggled, more so. So I think, there's obviously a wide range of business needs out there still, and I look forward to, doing some more partnerships and working with all of our different resource partners so that we can provide, a strong network of resources for these small businesses, no matter where they are in their life cycle and no matter what issues they're trying to deal with, as they get back to surviving and thriving. So really looking forward to more conversations about building revenue and that forward looking, and really getting our businesses back on track, the ones that really need that support. But Marlo's going to talk more about some of our, updates and things. But one happy announcement, I think maybe everybody heard, maybe you didn't, but officially yesterday, Isabel Guzman was confirmed as the new administrator for SBA. So I see some claps. Most of you are probably familiar with her name. Everybody might be familiar with her name since she has a, California roots. I actually had a chance to work with Isabel when she was in the last administration and I was in DC, and then obviously reconnected with her when I came out to California. So I do expect California is going to get tapped for some things. So I think this week, obviously, she just official yesterday. I think we're going to start seeing some changes. I think we're going to start seeing some updates, some movement on things, some issues that have been kind of stuck for a little while, even with some of the COVID related programs and the delivery. So, as I'm going to tell everybody, just buckle in. I think things are just beginning again, and there's going to be a lot of energy and a lot of excitement to help our small business community. So I'm going to turn it over to Marlo, I think, to kind of give you guys the more in-depth updates.
Great. Thank you, Julie. So my name is Marlo Schindler. I know most of you, but I am the lead lender relations specialist for the San Francisco District Office of the SBA. Today, I'm going to be going over primarily the American Rescue Plan Act, or I might also be referring to it as the ARP Act, because this is the most recent round of updates. So since you all are kind of in the weeds with us, I assume you've been following along and already know about the CARES Act, PPP Flexibility Act, and the Economic Aid Act. So this is the latest in a series of relief bills that has a lot in it for the SBA. So, and a lot of it is still awaiting guidance. So a lot of what I'm going to be talking about, I won't have all the details. And I know there's at least a couple parts and new programs that are going to be of real interest to everyone on this call. And when we have more information, we will follow up. Part of the fun of kind of getting this resource partner meeting stood up again was also making sure that we had all the up-to-date contact information with all of your organizations, so that as we get this information, we can make sure it gets out to you. And just, on a personal note, I've been at SBA a little bit over 8 years. And the resource partner meeting has been something that's happened, every 6 months for my whole time. And it's always been great to see everyone in person at least twice a year. And it has been weird to not see you guys for the last year. So it's a pleasure to even just see you all virtually. And I'm looking forward to later in the session when we get to break out and have that little bit of networking so that we can chat the way we would if we were in San Francisco in our conference room. So thank you all for coming to our first virtual resource partner meeting. So jumping into the highlights of the American Rescue Plan Act, on March 11th, President Biden signed the ARP Act into law. Some just kind of high level points in the bill or in the law are 7.25 billion additional dollars for the PPP. That's kind of a rounding error. We've had hundreds of millions in the previous bills, so we got a little bit more money, but not a ton. Additional funds were also allocated for the Shuttered Venue Operator Grant Program, which I might also be calling the SVOG program further on. Another big change in this act was that now businesses can apply for both a PPP and the SVOG. So prior to this, if you had applied for a PPP, that would make you ineligible for SVOG. There was 15 billion additional dollars for targeted economic injury disaster loans or EIDL, advances, not loans. And the two new programs that I mentioned that I know people in this call are going to be interested in, we got 28.6 billion for the Restaurant Revitalization Fund for industry-focused grants, and we got 100 million to establish a community navigator pilot program. And the Restaurant Revitalization Fund is the one that I've already had the most questions on. So I know there's a lot of interest, even from the banks who are trying to advocate for their clients, wondering how they get access to that money. So going a little deeper into each of those points, for the PPP, as I mentioned, we have 7.25 billion additional dollars for the program. PPP eligibility was also expanded to include certain additional nonprofit organizations and certain internet-only news and internet-only periodical publishing organizations. And, this is something we've seen several times now. Something gets signed into law and people kind of expect it to take place automatically or instantly. And, that's not how it works. So the SBA is in the process of updating the PPP guidance and applications to incorporate the provisions in the ARP Act. So you'll kind of see these newest provisions coming. I mean, the program's supposed to sunset on the 31st, so hopefully sooner rather than later. And existing guidance and forms are in effect until these updates are completed. So
Marlo, I'm sorry, could you remind the group what SVOG means?
So SVOG is the Shuttered Venue Operator Grant. So that's it was formerly known as Save Our Stages. And so for people who are maybe following along back when there was discussion before the Economic Aid Act, you might know it by that name. But when it got passed, it was the SVOG, Shuttered Venue Operator Grant. So for disaster assistance, the American Rescue Plan provided an additional $15 billion for targeted EIDL advance payments, including $5 billion for new supplemental targeted EIDL advance payments for those who are hardest hit. The American Rescue Plan Act also provides an additional $70 million for SBA's disaster loan program, which will make available an additional $784.8 million. And this gets into kind of the math of congressional budgeting, but basically we have 780 million more for EIDL loans. So those are the low cost long-term loans to businesses in need of flexible capital to recover and rebuild from the health and economic crisis. So I know a lot of you are working with folks who got EIDL loans. They were capped at 150,000. So traditionally EIDL went up to 2 million. So now maybe there will be a conversation about folks being able to increase their dollar amount. Again, this is kind of speculative. First we get the money, then we kind of decide how that money gets used. But hopefully we'll see an increase because there's a lot of businesses, especially in California, who would have been eligible for closer to the 2 million and only got the 150,000 for EIDL just because that's what it's been capped at for almost a year now. So for the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, we got $28.6 billion, and it is going to be for grants to eligible entities in the hard hit industry with a maximum of $5 million per grant per location and an aggregate maximum of 10 million. So there are a lot of establishment types that will count as a restaurant, and we'll have further details on this and probably NAICS codes, but for now, what we have from the talking points is that eligible establishment types will be restaurants, food stands, food trucks, food carts, caterers, saloons, inns, taverns, bars, lounges, brew pubs, tasting rooms, tap rooms, and then licensed facilities or premises of a beverage alcohol producer where the public may taste, buy, or sample products, or any other similar establishment where people assembled for the primary purpose of being served food or drink. And I think that last bit is basically like wineries were originally not included, but brew pubs were, or breweries were. So now it sounds like they're going to be eligible as well, which obviously, given where our district is important. Another requirement for those applying for this grant is that they have 20 or fewer locations. So this isn't going to be going to the bigger chains, but if there is like a local restaurant that has multiple locations, the having of multiple locations would not prohibit them from getting the grant as long as it's fewer than 20. Other ineligible entities are state or local government operated entities and publicly traded companies. And then also anyone who has a pending SVOG application or has received an SVOG grant. So this kind of happens throughout the program where we try and prevent businesses from double dipping. So you're not going to be able to get, since they're both grants and not loans, so you can't get an SVOG and then one of these restaurant grants. Another one that I wish I had more details, especially for this audience, is the Community Navigator pilot program. I know Julie's been on some calls where this has been discussed, and as soon as we have details, we will share them with everyone. But basically, the American Rescue Plan Act provided $175 million to establish a Community Navigator pilot program to conduct outreach efforts. So the law designates that the funds be used to provide grants to eligible organizations supporting efforts to improve access to COVID-19 pandemic assistance programs and resources, as well as create a telephone hotline. So the telephone hotline will offer information about federal programs to assist eligible businesses and referral services to resource partners, community navigators, potential lenders, and others. And community navigators are to include private nonprofit organizations, resource partners, states, tribes, and units of local government that will conduct outreach and deliver free education and technical assistance services to current or prospective owners of eligible businesses. I mean, so basically everyone on this call is already a community navigator, but hopefully this money will become available in a way where some of you might be able to officially become community navigators in the near future. So the Shuttered Venue Operator Grant, or SVOG. So the American Rescue Plan provided an additional $1.25 billion for the Shuttered Venue Operator Grant program, with $500,000 of that going towards technical assistance around the grant application. And I think it was already mentioned, but we're hoping that this application will go live in April. So just a few more weeks. I don't know how far in advance of the application actually going live that we'll get to see the application itself. But again, that's one of the many things that we'll follow up with as we have that information. And then, as I mentioned earlier, so venues no longer have are going to be forced to decide between PPP or SVOG because by the time they apply for SVOG, PPP probably won't be available or might not be available. So if you have a client you're working with who was thinking about PPP but didn't want to ruin their SVOG eligibility, they can go ahead and apply now. The only catch is the SVOG, if they do end up getting that grant, will be reduced by the PPP loan amount. The SVOG will not be reduced by the amount of any PPP loan prior to December 27th, 2020. So if someone, or if an entity received their PPP back in 2020, then that's fine. It's just any PPP received kind of in this round that would be deducted from their SVOG. And this is another one of those ones where we have, we're in the process of updating the PPP guidance to match the language in the ARP Act. So the existing guidance and forms are in effect right now, but they will be modified to take these new provisions into consideration. And then, so you can apply for a PPP and then an SVOG, but you can't do the reverse. So if an eligible entity receives an SVOG, they are no longer eligible to apply for a PPP. So there still is some, and I'm sure hopefully in the coming days or weeks, we're supposed to get a new PowerPoint that'll probably have the grid that shows, you know, if you do this, not this, a flow chart or something. So hopefully we'll have that to share sometime soon. There were a couple other additional appropriations in the ARP Act that are a little inside baseball, but it provided more than $1 billion for the SBA to administer the PPP, SVOG, restaurant grant, and targeted idle advance. So just a little, you know, some money for the agency to actually administer the programs this time around, which, as Julie mentioned, was a problem with prior rounds where we were just given more work, but not funds to help administer. And also in this act was $25 million for the SBA's Office of the Inspector General for oversight to prevent fraud, waste, and abuse. And unfortunately, that is something that we have seen a fair amount of with PPP and EIDL. So our Office of Inspector General has had to staff up to meet all of the, to do research into all of the complaints that have been filed. So definitely think that that's another good thing to note. Hopefully you haven't been dealing with many clients who have experienced identity theft or fraud, but if you have, you can always work with us at the district office and we can try and escalate that internally, make sure that gets some attention. Two more things that are kind of new news that were not in the ARP Act, but I think probably are relevant. So SBA has extended the deferment period for all disaster loans until 2022. So all SBA disaster loans, the EIDL loans that were made in calendar year 2020, so that includes COVID-19 EIDL and then just also the you know, traditional disaster loans related to maybe a fire, earthquake, hurricane, whatever, will have a first payment due date extended from 12 months to 24 months from the date of the note. So that's all SBA disaster loans made in calendar year 2020. And then for all disaster loans made in this year in 2021, including again the COVID-19 EIDLs, they will have a first payment due date extended from 12 months to 18 months. So good news for all of those borrowers. And I've kind of alluded to it, you know, we don't like to, in general, discuss pending legislation, but this is really relevant pending legislation. So I will just mention that it is in the pipeline, and that is the PPP Extension Act of 2021. So this is a bipartisan bill that would help employers retain access to PPP loans by extending the deadline for the PPP application for another 2 months to May 31st of 2021, and then provide an additional 30-day period for the SBA to process applications that are still pending. Again, I know a lot of you are working with folks who are going through the PPP process and are experiencing error codes and hold codes. So this would basically give kind of that additional month where no new applications are coming in and we're just trying to clear that backlog. Pending legislation, not law, hasn't happened. As of today, it ends March 31st.
It did, I will add though, it did pass the House yesterday. So it is on its way to the Senate. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, it seems like one of those bills that's likely to succeed because, I mean, it has bipartisan support. You know, everyone wants to help small businesses, but it hasn't passed yet. So, you know, as of right now, if you're working with anyone who's thinking about applying for a PPP, basically they should have already applied at this point, because even some of like the bigger banks have cut off accepting applications because they want to get through their own backlog and they don't want to be accepting applications closer to the deadline that they're not going to be able to get over the finish line. But yeah, if you're working with someone, as of right now, March 31st is still that cutoff. And I want to say, you know, I threw a lot of information out. There wasn't any visual thing for you to look at, which I apologize for, but we're waiting for approved slides from headquarters. And when we have that deck, I'll share it with everyone. If you have you know, a group of clients, or even if you want to train internally, counselors, mentors, whoever, we're available. Those of us here at the San Francisco District Office, myself, Darlene, you know, Julie, Miriam, we're happy to, you know, join a chapter meeting, a staff meeting, do something public facing for your clients. So just put a little plug for, you know, please reach out to us, please use us. It's complicated. There's a lot of moving parts. It's updated daily, weekly, and monthly right now. So it's hard for me as someone who professionally has to read all of this to stay on top of it. So I can imagine for a business owner, it's near impossible to kind of stay current on all of the changes. So we're here, we're a resource, you know, we're happy to do a presentation to a small or a large group anytime. And with that, I just hit my time. So I believe I'm going to move us along in the agenda, and I'm going to introduce Carmen Herrera, who is the Executive Director at El Pájaro Community Development Corporation. And they became one of SBA's newest women's business centers in January of this year. The funding will allow the center to bolster its work supporting women and underserved community members in launching and sustaining businesses. And I'll just point out that this was one of 2 organizations selected in the state of California in this round, and one of 20 nationally. So this was actually the largest expansion of the Women's Business Center program since its beginning. And I believe with the funds that Carmen and the folks at El Pájaro are going to be expanding the services that they offer even further through Santa Cruz, San Benito, and Monterey counties. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to, I saw Carmen before. Are you still on here? As I was talking, you moved your mic. Right. There you are. All right, good. Didn't want to do all that introduction, then have you drop off.
Thank you for the introduction. Is it possible for me to share my screen? Oh, there it is.
Looks like it is.
So someone else shared my. So good morning, and thank you everyone, SBA and CAMEO, for organizing this meeting. It's good to connect with other colleagues in the state. So as Marlo mentioned, I'm the Executive Director for El Pájaro Community Development Corporation. We're an organization that is headquartered in Watsonville, California, in Santa Cruz County, but we serve 3 counties, Santa Cruz, Monterey, and San Benito counties. We've been in operation for over 40 years, and we do small micro business development in the region. We have, so I don't know if you want to move the slide, please. So as I said, we serve the Tri-County area and the Central Coast, largely agricultural area, big, you know, farm working community. Many of the clients that we serve are, you know, people that at one point or work in the fields or are still working in the fields. We often have, you know, strawberry pickers that come in the evening to our classes still wearing their gear. Not now because of COVID, but they do come to our empresario program. So if you want to move the slide along, our mission is to promote equal access to economic opportunity, and we do that through helping people starting businesses, creating jobs, accessing fund, and and the future building assets. So if we want to move along the presentation, we provide business coaching, specialized consulting. We have a couple of niches that we kind of specialize, like we do serve general all kinds of businesses, but we have a large group of family childcare providers that participate in our programs. And we also work with very, very small farmers sometimes. And we also have thanks Nathaniel, we also have a food business incubation. And if you want to move to the next, yeah, so we have currently two incubators. One is a retail incubator that is located in downtown Watsonville, the Plaza Vigil. This was started in the 90s before my time. I understand it was the first, Latino-led, Latino business incubator in the nation. And then in 2013, we opened a commercial kitchen that currently houses 30 businesses from the region, all kinds of food businesses, specialty food, caterers, value-added products, food trucks, all kinds of things. We're currently actually in the kitchen working on expansion. We're just started tenant improvements to have a co-packing, a small batch co-packing for clients that are scaling up, but also for small farmers that are trying to create a line of value-added products. So if you know of anybody interested, let them know that we're working on this. Hopefully by the summer, we'll be done with this. And we have our core business education program. It's called Empresario, which is the Spanish word for entrepreneur. And that's a 10-week program that we do every semester in sometimes the 3 counties, sometimes 2 counties for sure. Always try to do it in Watsonville and Salinas. We this year we had to switch everything to online, as you all did. We're very, very happy right now to report that we added 2 new programs. So if you want to, well, before I do that, you want to move the slide? Yeah. So we, as everybody, we also have been working a lot on, relief for businesses for COVID. We did, so far, I think we've done about over $8 million of PPP and other CARES Act money, but mostly PPP. We also have done a lot of work around the grant, and the California grant. We don't have those numbers here yet, but we did a lot of work. We're still doing a lot of work to help people access. We, since the very beginning, started to advocate to find resources for the businesses that we serve. We serve a large amount of, immigrant, Latino businesses, a lot of IT businesses that at the very beginning they didn't have access to many or a lot of resources or almost nothing. And one of the one of the first things that we did is that we actually figured out a way of creating an emergency loan fund in collaboration with MEDA and Fondo Adelante. So thank you for that, Nathaniel and team. So we were able to get the community foundations in Monterey and Santa Cruz to put $1.5 million in investment so that we could do this emergency loans. And so far we've been doing, being able to provide access to these funds. In addition to grants and all of that, many of our businesses didn't qualify for large amounts of relief money. with PPP or the California grants. So they need money for operations so that they can, keep their business open and, have a chance of recovering, when all of this gets better. So we're very, very happy about what we've done with this program. If you want to move the slide, thank you. So we are actually, as Marlo mentioned, we are a new regional women's business center. That's the name of our center. We are still working on the final grant agreement and all of that kind of thing. Hopefully soon we'll let you know about the launch and our online ribbon cutting, but we're very happy because this brings a lot of resources to an area that it's experiencing a lot more need, and the area that we serve includes a large rural areas, and one of the things that we all know is that the rural areas and minority-owned businesses have been disproportionately affected by this crisis and are facing more challenges in accessing support. And that's one of the areas that we really want to serve. And we are hoping to open or working on opening a satellite offices. The headquarters of our office is in Santa Cruz County in Watsonville, but we will soon open a satellite office in Monterey County and later in San Benito County. And the other good news is that we've been working for a long time in, planning to have our own loan fund, our microloan fund. And we just got our lender's license in December. It was approved and we got our actual lender's license, like, I don't know, a few weeks ago. So this week we're actually doing our first loan and working on that. These programs are it's soft launch of everything. We're working on our new logo for the Women's Center, and also, on doing all our marketing for the lending program. But we're very, very happy to be able to, bring more resources to our clients and be able to expand the services and serve areas that we've been serving, but with very limited resources. And now with the Women's Business Center, we know that we're going to have the SBA resources, not just the funds, but also all resources that are being offered in terms of program by the SBA. And also we'll be able to leverage funds, with having the Women's Center designation to expand services in our area. So I'm going to stop here, and I don't know if anybody has questions or comments. There's our info if anybody wants to contact us. And I'm going to put my personal email in the chat just in case. Thank you for the opportunity, and very nice to join you all.
Thank you, Carmen. We are so excited for you. Very excited for you. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Heidi Pickman. I'm the VP of Programs and Policy, and I was doing double duty just a little bit ago, so I'm joining you slightly late, not too late, enough to, and in time to hear Marlo and Carmen, and there's some great stuff that's coming out of the stimulus. We'll be posting a blog post that we had from our listening session yesterday with Matt Gomez on the House Small Business Committee, and we'll make sure that you get those slides that Marlo mentioned once they're all ready to go. I want to, just in case we didn't get a chance to introduce the rest of the Cameo team, I want the rest of the Cameo team to say hello. I know you heard from, Carolina earlier, but did we hear from Emily?
Hi, Emily Gasner here. Great to see everybody. I am the VP of Strategic Initiatives and Operations at Cameo. Thanks you all for joining.
Awesome. And what about Mega? Some of you might know Mega from a different incarnation.
Yeah, hi folks. I used to be named Mega Sugianto, but now I'm Mega Jewel, got married in the meantime. I'm here with the Cameo team to service the back end things, but also mainly the special projects. So you'll see me at the Entrepreneurship Advantage with the Los Angeles cohort here, and then also with special projects with Cameo. Glad to be here.
Great. Excellent. And so I want everybody to take 15 seconds and write down into chat one word that you think of when you think about Cameo. This is a little for our information and just to see what you guys know, who knows about Cameo. If you don't know about us, just say, don't know. Be interesting to know who does know us and who doesn't know us, and to make sure we reach out and what people think of Cameo. Oh, this is great. Resources, connectors, network. A couple people don't know us. Systems, ecosystem leader, partner, lending, resource rich. Oh, I love this. Thank you, you guys. Trusted. Oh, wow. This is fantastic. Great. We are probably going to take some of these words and some of your feelings into a messaging platform that we're working on. So thank you for that. That's really great. I only saw a couple people who might not know us. So we'll make sure that we get your name and we introduce ourselves to you. So I just want to give everybody kind of an overview besides some of that, kind of formally how we think about ourselves. So if we can go to the next slide. And Cameo, we do, we're statewide. So as Mega mentioned, she's down in LA. She's working with the LA Collaborative. We're all the way from San Diego up to Wairika. And we do 4 things. We do capacity building. Next week starts our micro lending essentials class. We've moved it online. We used to do it in person. Some of you have probably attended. We're trying a different incarnation this time. It's going to be 5 days, 3 hours a day. We've tried it a couple times where we spread it over 6 weeks. We're going to try this, see what works best. We are selling that class out, as we'll talk a little bit about in a bit. That's really exciting. We also do advocacy. We do a lot of policy. I'll talk a little bit that. We also are, as many of you recognize, we're a network, an ecosystem leader. And we do a lot of, gathering, convening, connecting of our network. And our website also has a lot of resources on it, which you guys notice. So this is really, it's really great that we seem to be jiving with the perception. So that really makes me happy. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we did in 2020 and what's coming up in 2021 and get a feel for what your organizations did. And first, we're going to talk about our programs, which we divide into the 3 categories you see here: the Cdfi Incubator, which is all our loan programs; the Cameo Academy, which is other capacity building activities; and our ecosystem building. So with that, let's move on to the next slide. Let's see. So in 2020, as you all probably experienced, we had huge growth, most notably in the number of people attending our events and our webinars and I like to call them events because they're not always webinars. We try and get some kind of back and forth feel to our online presence. try and be more engaging. It's not just a one-way thing. So yeah, we had over a 300% increase in the number of registrants to our events, and our participation rate was really pretty high. So that what I mean by that is that's a number of attendees to registrants. So really high, and that's a testament to the team and testament to you all for being engaged. Really, we also drastically increased the number of events that we were doing. We're doing one webinar a month last time, and now we're doing we've slowed down a bit from the early days of COVID, but we were kind of in rapid response mode as everybody else was, and just trying to make sure that we serve and answered questions. So with that, I think I have the poll power. It's very interesting in let's see, this is
I think I
not
have it.
what?
I think I have it.
I have it. I have the poll power. I got the power. So I am going to launch the poll. Zoom is always weird. Maybe they made it so that multiple co-hosts can launch it. Before, it would be the last co-host that came on. So let's see. I'm going to launch the poll, and you should see. I want to kind of get an idea of where everybody is as far as their activity. Did you guys see the same activity as we did, with a huge increase, or stayed the same? Did anybody decrease? It looks like people are chiming in, and majority of you saw the same crazy increase that we did, with some of you having some increase. I'll give another. The numbers are still ticking, so see if we settle in there. Yeah, I'm going to end the polling and share results. So yeah, 71% of you who answered said that you saw a huge increase, with others having a smaller increase, but an increase. And the number of clients our organization stayed, a couple of you saying stay the same, or one slight decrease. And, if you did see a slight decrease, I'm going to pop my email in, and we'd love to chat with you and see if there's some way that we can help you, or some way we could partner you up with other organizations. So please do feel free to reach out, or if that was intentional, it'd be curious. So great. Wonderful. So let's talk a little bit about Cameo's programs. As I mentioned, we have the Microlending Essentials class that's starting next week in 2020. And so if you can go to the next slide, we have Microlending Essentials is next week. In 2020, we sold out 3 classes and had waiting lists for all the classes. We like to keep the classes kind of small to make sure that everybody gets the attention they need. And we did manage to train over 75 staff from 39 different organizations. And we're getting a lot of demand from out of state now for our program. So that's really exciting. I want to thank the SBA and the Prime grant for funding some of those early on. They funded, I think it was the first 2 online classes that we had. So thanks to SBA for helping us out with that, to help develop that online piece. We're already ready to go with that. And then, so we were kind of pressing in, we were getting demand from out of states. We're like, oh, we got to get something online. And also California is so big. Cdfi Essentials is our lending cohort, where it helps new lenders or existing lenders who've been in the biz a couple of years, but really want to fine tune their loan policies, and or maybe make them more formalized. Maybe they didn't have a written underwriting grid, or maybe they just, there's something that they wanted to do to improve their loan program. That's that cohort. And Susan Brown, who also does the Microlending Essentials, who many of you might know, she leads that cohort. Last year we had 12 organizations, including organizations from out of state. And this year we have that was a little too big. So we limited this year. We have, I think, 8 in the cohort this year. So it's really, CAMEO's programs are really kind of exciting. And there's nothing else in the country that we've found that does these kind of, that offers these kind of services. If you do know of anything, please do let us know. We also have, I'm calling it the lending front cohort, but what we've also done in the past is we've aggregated small volume lenders who maybe can't afford high quality, state-of-the-art technology for lending. We've aggregated them together and kind of come up with a cohort model that they get one kind of product or one kind of like rules to play by. They each have their individual loan application. And then we do some training on that. It makes it more, we do cost sharing. It makes it more affordable. We also subsidize it a little bit. Susan Brown also runs that program, which she's been doing for quite some time. Earlier, she did it in the with the MMS that I know on Meta's Adelante Fund was part of that, and I don't know if anybody else on the call was part of that. So we had several organizations that are part of that program. But we're excited to say there's 4 lending front cohorts, NAAC, Carmen's new lending program is on it, Economic Justice Fund, and the last one is escaping me at the moment, but really excited. And then our Carrot Fund. Our Carrot Fund is also a new lender program. So this is why we call it the Incubator. That was Carolina. Caroline's like, wait, we're incubating CDFIs. Which is true. So we have the Carrot Fund, which Emily Gasner is heading up. And that's a small loans to lenders program to get new lenders doing some loans before banks will make investments. We've made 4 loans so far to new and emerging CDFIs totaling $600,000 from an initial $500,000 investment from Capital One. The really exciting thing about that is our lenders have increased the number of microloans made by an average of 219%, and the dollar amount and number of loans by about an average of 200% each. So that's really exciting. And I should say the other piece of that is, we're possibly looking to expand that program and have applied for a California's lender's license, and we expect it to receive that this year, which Emily is also heading up. Next slide, please. So in addition to the programs that we have, we've also done some direct organizational assistance. Susan Brown has worked with about 16 organizations in the past year and a half. Emily worked with the District 10 in San Francisco to launch their revolving loan fund. CAMEO offers other organizational assistance if you need help with program design, facilitating board meetings, doing strategic planning retreats, those kind of things. Just keep us in mind. And we've done it. We have some great expertise in house, and if that's something that you all need, we'd be happy to provide that. Great. And let's go to the next slide. So our coaching academy last year turned into COVID response, basically. We already had a Taking Your TA online class that ran in November. So when COVID hit, everybody's like, we got to go online. So what did we do? We offered it a couple more times. Again, thanks to the Prime grant, there was a total need. We sold out immediately. We basically saw the need, launched the class, and knew we had more than we could. So we launched another class. We did 2 of them. We also worked on the pandemic unemployment assistance program and had a hotline. We worked with legal aid in San Francisco, and we helped over 1,400 self-employed individuals with that pandemic unemployment assistance. The legal aid did the actual help, but we helped behind the scenes. We helped with outreach. Again, seeing there was just so much need this year, and we just tried our best to jump in where we thought we could. We also held many timely trainings. I think we were one of the first people to navigate the PPP and EIDL programs. May have remember early on, we had Mark Quinn and Ann Sullivan and Julie and somebody from the Office of Disaster Assistance. Julie, he escapes my name. His name escapes me. But we jumped on it. We knew that loans might have to be deferred. So Susan, along with some special guests from Community Vision, Kat Howard, and some other people, we did developing loan deferment policy and writing off bad loans and some other trainings. Those are just examples. And in 2021, as everybody, many of you on the call, I think if you're not involved and want to be involved in the relief grant, please do reach out. We are looking for a possible additional partner or two, but everybody, I know a lot of you are all working on the grant fund, historic $2 billion of funding from $2.5 billion of funding from the state to help small businesses. This is unheard of, really grateful to the state for recognizing the need and really putting some meat behind it. We've also been involved with the California Rebuilding Fund. All these relief and rebuilding, I got that wrong. It should say the California Rebuilding Fund. That's the loans program. It's a long-term product. It's a little slow right now because it was at one point it was one of the only things in town, but now with the advent of PPP and the grant program, the demand for it has slowed down a little bit. We expect this to be a long-term project. One thing that's happening is people are applying and they're not getting matched with the lender. So we decided that we need to help these businesses. We really do. We can't just leave them in a vacuum and let them go without any help. So we're trying to, there's been some legal hoops we've had to jump through with California's new privacy laws and sharing information. So we are in the final stages of ironing those legal issues out. And we're looking for you to partner with us and it's kind of think of it as a way to market your services to new clients. We just want to basically match clients, match people with clients and most appropriately. And we have a little form you can fill out. I think Mega might be able to pop that form for you into chat, or we'll make sure it goes on the follow-up email if you're interested. And I did send an email out to all the organizational heads. So we'll make sure that you get that as well. And I have 3 question marks because I have another poll for you all. Oh, was I sharing all the poll results all this time? Somebody? Anybody?
No.
Oh, good. Okay. It was weird. It said I was.
Saw the results of the first poll about if you went over 50%.
Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, so now I have question marks there on purpose because I want you guys to tell us what you are looking for in training. These are train the trainers, or what you need more information of, what you see your clients. If it's not here, type it into chat. This is information, stuff that we'll try and develop. Growth Wheel, for those of you don't know, is online. It's online software that organizes TA. Like it helps you be more efficient about your TA. And I know that there have been, if you are an SBDC and a WBC, which I think many of you are, you've probably seen their demos at your conferences in the past. we're thinking about doing the same thing we do with lending vendors, aggregating, doing some cost sharing, and some peer networking. So given everybody, you can pick as many as you want on this. I think there's more than one, like if there's something that you want to do that's more than one, I think you should be able to do that. So it's not an either or situation. And we will, we'll look into some of the most popular trainings to help you. I'll give you another minute or so. And somehow, for some reason, this doesn't surprise me, the results. I think there's a lot there. And if there's if you said other, please type it into chat and we'll see what we can do. This is super helpful. All right, I think we slowed down on the voting, so I'm going to end polling and share results. And everybody could see digital. No surprise, I'm not surprised that digital skills training was one of the most popular. Other things, marketing training, legal issues for businesses, exit strategy, and possibly some leadership development, exit strategy, succession planning for businesses. So cool. So that's great. Excellent. Well, what we'll do with this is we'll take some of this information, and when we start to when the grant slows down, we'll take some and develop some trainings for you all in some of these areas. So great. Excellent. And Mega, I am going to stop sharing my results. Mega, if you could advance to the next slide. Thanks everybody for that. And thanks for the other answers you're putting into chat. Really appreciate that. So this is great. So that was capacity building. I'm going to fostering ecosystems and our networking activities that we do. We had a meet the FDCs in with the lenders meeting last year. The Federal Financial Development Corps, they're the ones that work on the state loan guarantee program. For the just FYI, for those of you who don't know, some of the lenders didn't know some of the FDCs, and some of the FDCs didn't know the lenders. So we brought them together. We held 8 regional meetings. We had a bunches of listening sessions, as everybody might recall. And then we started quite a bit of affinity group calls, mainly revolving around some of the programs, but we convened our lenders together quite a bit. We convened the TA providers, and of course the Rebuilding Fund cohort. We've also in 2021 have a grant cohort that we're working with. So and I think it really being able to do that last year, and just I think COVID just kind of highlighted the value of that convening, not power, but convening function, how much we need it. And it's as you all mentioned, when you think of CAMEO, a lot of you thought of us as a connector and a convener. So I'm really grateful for you all for recognizing that. And I think that was one of the things we were able to do this year, is prove the value of the network. We are working with EMC Strategies, who's a public relations firm. Some of you may know Caitlin McShane, Aaron Musk of Opportunity Fund, and formerly of Opportunity Fund, and Aaron Musgrave and Conan Knoll of Small Business Majority. They now have a public relations firm, and we're working with them to create the messaging about the strong network that we all are part of, and that includes every single one of you on the phone. on the Zoom. So if we can go to the next slide, and just to give an idea of some of the coalitions we were involved in and the collaboration and the projects that we're involved in last year. We mentioned our LA collaborative, which is Entrepreneurship Advantage. We worked with the Women's Business Center, thanks to the SBA, on a Measure Up program that was helped them with data collection and really up their game and really enable them to talk quite powerfully about their network. And then Carolina's working with a bunch of Latino women's groups and with Levantando Nuestras Voces, raising our voices. She's also working with the California Coalition for Community Investment, which is the CDFI, the California CDF, loosely the CDFI coalition. I think Sarah Razavi is also on the executive committee of that, and many of you probably participate. We've been working with many of you on the California Rebuilding Fund, and we're also part of the Jetty Small Business Roundtable. In 2021, we're part of, in addition to a lot of this, we're part of 2 racial justice cohorts. One through CRC and one through that's being spearheaded by Self-Help, and that many of you are also participating in. So that's been really exciting. Next slide. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention advocacy, especially because we're in advocacy season right now, but it's bill season, and at least statewide, there's tons of bills coming out, and you'll be hearing about those as we see the legislative session take shape from now until June. Our areas that we're most interested in and have been focusing, not most interested, we're interested in all small business, but where we've been focusing in our responsible small business lending. You've heard a lot about those efforts. We were really active in trying to get the Department of Financial Protections and Innovation include small business in their mandate, and we were successful in that. There's still some tweaking to do to make it a priority, but they have the mandate. We just have to kind of push on them. I think they have, they're starting a new organization. There's lots of need out there, and so trying to balance all the different issues and priorities with all the different stakeholders. One thing that was great that came out of that last year was that we partnered with the consumer advocates, and since many of you know, a lot of consumer products are used for business purposes, and we finally sort of married our advocacy, and it had been really fortunate to have them as allies, and they're including small business in their ask, so that's really great. We've been working all year and continue to work on the state and federal COVID policy response, just like many of you. Right now, we've got an eye toward appropriations on the federal level. Asking, we're in lockstep with the national groups in their appropriations asks. Just a couple of interesting tidbits in case you haven't heard. The Cdf5 Fund, which was currently at 270 billion for this around, I don't remember, I think it might be 274, 273 or something like that. But 270 billion, you'll just get an idea of scale. They're asking for this next fiscal year $1 billion in that fund, so greater than tripling that fund. Now's the time to ask for it. Really excited for that. That would mean a lot for our community. So that's really exciting. Also for rural, the Rmap program. So for those of you who use the Rmap program, this year they got 6 million. The program's been previously funded at 3 million. This year they got 6. We're asking for 12, and along with our partners from Center for Rural Affairs. And there's not a lot of people advocating for rural. So if you're in some part of the rural parts of the district, because I know it's a big district, that's something that we're advocating for. And we also advocated on behalf of, there was some egregious executive order that came down, September, August, September, that you couldn't do any racial bias testing, training, and some other stuff. And that was repealed pretty quickly when President Biden came into office. But we were part of a effort to make sure that that didn't go into effect. So, and then we did last year, we had an advocacy day. We'll do another one this year, TBD. So stay tuned. We're participating in 7 policy coalitions, and every Friday, every other Friday more, it's kind of slowed down. We're participating in Small Business Majority's 30-minute policy update. So if you want to join that, hit me up and we'll send you the thing. And wow, I am like perfectly on time, and I'm happy to entertain any questions anybody has about Cameo or our programs. I think it's great. Thanks for all those ideas about training and stuff that you're interested in. Thank you, Neil, for your kind comment. Mary Ann is looking for Spanish-speaking trainers and consultants. So if anybody, please reach out to her. She popped her email address in there. I just want to call that out. Great. Well, thanks, everybody. Now we get to the fun part. One of the fun parts about these meetings, but before we do, and I meant to do this before I started talking because it's gonna talk. I want everybody to take a deep stretch, reach your hands up to the air, even look up. Oh, I know I need to do this a couple times and forget. Maybe twist a little to the right. Breathe in and breathe out, and twist a little bit to the left. Breathe in, breathe out. Face front. Sometimes I always forget to do that. And I know you've been with your kind attention for quite some time now. And really appreciate that. So we are going to, one of the reasons why we like to bring you guys together is to get you talking and to get you together and sharing and just meeting each other. If you don't know each other, find out what's going on. We have some prompting questions. You can kind of pick one. Have you fared through these? How have you fared? If you want to go in that direction, maybe you want to talk about it from personally or organizationally. I know I became, as many of you might know me, I'm more of an extrovert, but I became kind of introverted and a little disconnected from my friends. So I'm trying to work on that this year and connect more with my friends, either, I get Zoom fatigued from work. And so that's the last thing I want to do. But I'm trying to get over that and just connect with my personal people. So, what adjustments have you made, or big lessons learned, useful tips you've gained for serving clients, a new skill or practice that you've applied to serve your clients? We're going to split. We've got 55 people. So I think I'm going to do 54. I think I'm going to do groups of 4. I'm going to split you, create. So groups of 4. I think I need 11. No. 17. I'm going to do 17 breakout rooms. I'll do 16 and see where that gets us. 16 times 4. No, 16 times 4 is 64. So 15, 60, 14. There we go. I'm going to we're going to do 2 rounds of networking. One, we're going to do these random where I'm going to create breakout rooms and you'll go into your breakout room. You should see a join. I'm going to give you about 10 minutes or so. And then this is going to be assigned at random. Then we're going to come back, share a little bit about anything, if anybody wants to share something. And then we are going to do breakout rooms where you can pick by topic. So if you want to talk to people about, we've got, you know, a whole bunch of topics that we can, that you can choose, and you can just go and join that. So I am going to send you in and give you about 10 minutes. So enjoy. I'll give you a 3-minute warning and have fun. And we can pause recording.